The woman of two wells, Hagar's story, Genesis 16 and 21. In the wilderness on the road to Shur, a woman flees. Her name is Hagar, an Egyptian servant of Sarah, pregnant and mistreated. She runs alone into the desert, unseen by people, but not by God. The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. Genesis 16:7. This road to Shur lay between Canaan and Egypt, the southern frontier where the desert stretches toward the Sinai Peninsula. There, Hagar, an Egyptian herself, finds herself between two worlds, the land of promise and the land of exile. At that moment, something happens that will never be repeated quite the same way again. Hagar becomes the first person in the entire Bible to be visited by the angel of the Lord, the first woman to receive a divine promise directly, and the only person ever recorded to name God personally. The angel calls her by name. Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? Genesis 16:8. And gives her a prophecy few others in Scripture ever receive. I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. Genesis 16:10. Her son is to be called Ishmael, meaning God hears. And Hagar, stunned by mercy in exile, declares, You are El-roi, the God who sees me. Genesis 16:13. That first well is named Beer-lahai-roi, the well of the living one who sees me. Genesis 16:14. It lies, according to the text, between Kadesh and Bered, an area in the northern Sinai or northwestern Arabian region, where the desert begins to open toward the Arabian Peninsula. It marks the place where a foreign slave woman became the first person to experience a theophany and live to tell it. Years later, the story repeats. After Isaac's birth, Sarah demands that Abraham cast Hagar and Ishmael away. He gives them bread and a skin of water and sends them into the wilderness of Beersheba. Genesis 21:14. When the water runs out, Hagar leaves the boy under a bush and weeps. Let me not look on the death of the child. Genesis 21:16. But heaven hears, and God heard the voice of the boy. And the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said, Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Genesis 21:17. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. Genesis 21:19. This is the second well, another divine intervention, the moment when despair turns to life. Hagar becomes the only person in the Bible to encounter angels twice at wells and to have her child's name, God hears, confirmed by God's own action. In Islamic tradition, this second well is called Zamzam, the spring that burst forth beneath Ishmael's feet in the valley of Paran near Mecca in the Arabian Peninsula. There, Hajar's desperate search for water is remembered in the Hajj pilgrimage, where pilgrims run between Safa and Marwa, retracing her steps. The Bible itself places Ishmael's descendants in that same vast region. They settled from Havilah to Shur, which is opposite Egypt in the direction of Assyria. He settled over against all his kinsmen. Genesis 25:18. Among his 12 sons was Kedar, whose descendants are later described as dwelling in the Arabian wilderness. Isaiah 21:16-17, Psalm 120:5. From Beer-lahai-roi, between Kadesh and Bered, to the wilderness of Beersheba and the valley of Paran, Hagar's journey traces a path across the southern frontier of the ancient world, from the edge of Egypt to the cradle of Arabia. Her story stands as a record of firsts: the first person visited by the angel of the Lord, the first woman given a direct covenant-like promise, the only person to name God, the only person to encounter divine messengers twice at wells, Hagar, the woman of two wells, seen, heard, and remembered by the living God.